dinner smells good.
Hi, I'm Andrew Buddha, the lawyer. Today we're going to look at a traffic stop that includes a dog search of the vehicle. We're going to watch the video and we'll do an analysis of the video as we watch.
Office here. You got a driver's license? That dinner smells good. All right, Miss Russell, is this your car? It is? Okay. The reason why I'm being stopped is we had some investigators with the sheriff's office that were on the interstate and they saw your car kept crossing over the line. We want to make sure you're safe to drive. Where are you headed to? Where's home? Okay, you got a little bit of a drive. Where are you coming from?
I was coming from Atlanta. My sister's staying.
Oh, up in Atlanta? Okay. I got you. See that deputy on your side? Will you just step out and talk to him?
A lot of things happened so far. The first thing is the police officer says that the reason he pulled her over was there was a reasonable suspicion to believe that she was driving erratically, failing to maintain a single lane, maybe reckless driving, cutting off other cars. Now, the reason police officers are allowed to do this is they take a third-party information. In this case, it was an undercover police officer who witnessed it and radioed in that she was driving like that. So police have a duty, a responsibility to pull over cars that drive that way. And what they do is they check to see if the person's ill, tired, impaired, or is having car trouble. So that's why he asked those specific questions, just to make sure that everything was okay with her. A lot of times, if somebody is eating chicken wings like she was, I don't know about on a road like this, it seems like a very busy interstate. But swerve, the police officer realized that it was just a temporary distraction. They could issue a citation quickly or decide to just give them a warning. Also, you saw the police officer when she was getting out of the car. He looked in her back seat. That's a plain view search. He's allowed to do that. He took that flashlight. That's a very bright flashlight, and it'll even cut through very dark window tint. And he checked the floorboards in the back seat for any illegal contraband or weapons. More than likely, the reason that they got her out of the car at that time was because it's such a busy interstate that it puts everybody's life at jeopardy.
Okay, anything illegal in the vehicle? Okay. All right. No weapons, money, drugs? No, you seem hesitant.
No, I'm
okay.
That noise from the traffic.
Oh, the noise from the traffic. Okay, so nothing's in your vehicle that's not supposed to be in there. Okay, I got you. All right. You have a problem with me searching your vehicle?
Yes, because I need to know what's involved.
What's that? I'm just asking you.
Oh, yes.
I can search it?
No, what for what?
Okay, well, I'm just asking you.
Yeah. I'm saying, I was saying what's the cause?
Okay, well, I'm just asking you. You say you're eating, that's why you're failing to maintain lane. I just want to make sure you're not drinking in the car. You don't have any open containers, nothing like that. Okay.
You should be able to smell it if I had open containers.
Well, not all the time, especially with all this traffic going by.
So in this video, you can see there's a lot of things going on. The police officer, as you're well aware, they try to get you to consent to a legal search of your car. It is legal because you're allowing them to do it. You can allow a police officer to come in your house. You can allow them to search anything you want. If you allow it, that's a perfectly legal search. The way he's asking her is a little bit confusing. It's loud. She's definitely saying, no, I don't want you to search. I don't have anything illegal. Why? The cop seems to be a little bit perplexed based on her answers, even though he's asking it in a little bit of a confusing way. And that's the point. He's trying to trick her. He's trying to confuse her. He's trying to guilt her to say, well, if you don't have anything illegal in the car, then why don't you mind me searching? He goes on to say that he wants to search base to see if there's any alcohol in the car, open containers. I liked her response there. Well, you would smell it on my breath. We've talked about totality of the circumstances in other videos. Everything that a police officer does from the minute that they pull you over or interact with you to the end, whether they arrest you or they let you go, that is all just to try to gather evidence against you. If this were a stop where they thought that she was under the influence of alcohol, they would look at things about her dexterity, the way she pulled her driver's license out of her wallet. If you notice, she did drop a credit card, although that just looked like it slipped. That didn't look like it was anything to do with being intoxicated. She mentioned that you'd smell it on her breath. Again, that's a coherent thought, meaning that she is clearly not under the influence of anything illegal or alcohol, where her normal faculties would be impaired, because she's able to come up with that answer very quickly. The officer even mentions at one point that any cash in your car, it's not illegal to have cash in your car. I'm not sure why he said that. He's probably just a little bit nervous and just trying to say a lot of things to get her to consent to a search, because a lot of times they will say what they need to say to get you to search. She's doing a good job here just saying, no, you're not going to search. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm not drinking. So here's where she starts to get a little bit unlucky. The gentleman that was just speaking, he seems to be a canine handling officer, meaning Max, I'm assuming is the name of his German Shepherd dog, the drug dog. And that's what he says. You want me to run Max while you run her information and write her a warning. So they're doing the nice thing. They're going to give her a warning based on everything they've seen. That tells me that they don't think that she's under the influence of anything illegal or alcohol, and that she's fine to drive. They're just going to do a walk around the car with the drug dog to make sure there's nothing illegal. What the courts have found, what the law says, is essentially that as long as you're not burdened by a delay from the traffic stop, the drug dog can walk around your car, and if it alerts, then they can further search the car or arrest you at that time, depending on what they find in the car. The bottom line is that it doesn't cause you a substantial amount of delay. So that's the key now, is to make sure that they run the dog around the car before her warning or ticket is given. There are other circumstances where they could be delayed a little bit longer, but as a general rule, as long as you're not delayed based on what they normally would do in a traffic stop, whether or not that dog is there or readily available to be there, that's the key. So as long as you're not delayed by the dog coming, they can bring the dog and walk it around your car.
100, 199 status.
I'm gonna get out here while they search the car, while make sure there's nothing in here.
So we stop it right here. We can see the dog come into frame. We can see that so far this whole interaction has been perfectly legal. The cops are doing everything exactly by the book. He's going to cut her, in his mind at this time, a break. He's going to write her a written warning. You hear him say that. He's inputting her information in the computer to print out a written warning for failure to maintain a single lane, which is what they pulled her over for. And the undue delay for the dog to come and do the legal search will be things like this: inputting her driver's license to make sure she's not wanted or have any warrants out anywhere, to make sure that her car is properly registered, and to write her a warning ticket. This is very fast. It's only been a minute or two since he got in the car, so there's absolutely no delay. So everything so far looks good as far as the police following procedure in the law.
On you, okay, so I'd be more comfortable. I'm I'm going to put 2 pairs of handcuffs on you so it'll be more comfortable for you.
So it seems that the initial officer that was running the information is standing by with her while the K-9 law enforcement officer searches the vehicle. You see that he comes up and they put her in handcuffs. Now, a lot of times I'll get calls from clients or people that have been arrested, potential clients, and everybody thinks that they didn't read Miranda rights. That means that the whole case gets thrown out. Well, that, in fact, is not true. What Miranda rights are is they just tell you what your rights are, the right to remain silent mainly, and the right to have an attorney. But the key to Miranda rights, just to kind of simplify it a little bit, is that Miranda rights have to happen prior to being asked questions if you're in custody. Now, custody doesn't necessarily mean being arrested. Custody could be just detained, put in the backseat of a police car, putting cuffs on. You don't have to physically be under arrest, being at a police station, an interrogation room. The police should read you the Miranda rights. If they don't, that doesn't mean that the case gets thrown out. If they don't ask you any questions, that's fine. The only thing that happens that Miranda rights need to be read to you is if they ask you questions about the facts of your case. If they're asking those questions, for example, in this scenario, it sounds like the police officer says, that's a whole lot of drugs you have in the back of your car. If she admits to the drugs and says, yeah, those are my drugs, that could potentially be an issue because she's in cuffs and they didn't read Miranda, and it's not just, the police officer would say he's just making a statement. However, that's a statement that elicits a response. So it could be argued that Miranda rights should have been read, so that statement potentially could be thrown out. However, the cop does a good job. If you listen very closely, it's hard to hear with all the background noise. But the police officer, he says that I can't talk to you right now about that. And that's because she's in cuffs, she's being detained, and Miranda rights haven't been read, meaning he'll ask her questions after Miranda has been read. Now, if, for example, he does start to ask her about the drugs in the car and she admits, says, it's mine, I bought them this morning, I'm guilty, take me to jail, and she's in custody and Miranda rights have not been read, that doesn't mean that the entire case gets thrown out. That just means that the statements that she made from the point where she was detained to Miranda not being read, as long as they weren't any questions, that I should say. So if any questions were asked of her and she responded, those statements would be thrown out if Miranda hasn't been read. If she willingly just starts talking, Miranda rights don't have to be read. If you give spontaneous statements admitting, oh, I'm sorry, I'm crying, these are my drugs, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. If the police officers didn't ask any questions, there's no need for Miranda rights to have been read at that time. But if the police are going to ask her a question, the best thing to do is to read those Miranda rights.
Turn your hand that way. There you go. I don't want these to tighten up and hurt you. $165, $100. I'm $10.95. Yes, ma'am.
Can you roll my window up and stuff?
Yes, ma'am. We'll make sure your stuff doesn't get ruined. We're going to walk to the back of this car, okay? Look, just a word of advice, when you sit down in there, try to pick your hands up a little bit on your back, and when you get in there, you can lower them back down.
They advise they has been on this property. However, he says he doesn't want me.
You need a mask for anything? Miss Russell, I got to read you something, all right? You are Miss Russell, right? Okay. All right. This is your Miranda warning. You probably heard it on TV a bunch of times, okay? But I got to read it to you, all right? You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him present with you while you are being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to you to represent you before any questioning if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. You understand? Okay. Is that your car? It's your mother's car? Who's it registered to?
So you could see in that scenario, they do read the Miranda rights. It's interesting that the police officer read the Miranda rights off of a card. When I was a prosecutor in my jurisdiction, all the police were issued from my office Miranda rights on a card. It's best that they read them off of the card. It doesn't mean that they don't know them, they don't memorize them, but it's just to make sure that they do it exactly the way the law says they should. And that's what this police officer did in this video. The police officer did the stop. It was entirely by the book. They followed all procedures. They were very polite and courteous to her the entire time. Her downfall seemed to be the fact that she was real hungry and ate the chicken wings. They were found in the trunk. At the very end of the video, she seems to say that it's her mother's car. I don't know what happens with this case. I can tell you as a matter of experience that if it's not her car and she's borrowing someone's car and those drugs are in the trunk, there's two types of possession in the state of Florida. There's constructive possession and actual possession. Actual possession is what you think about when you think about it's in your pocket, it's in your hand. That is you possessing it. It's actually possessing it. The other type is lesser known. It's called constructive possession. Constructive possession means that you possess it. However, there's a two-part test to it. You have to have knowledge that whatever it is you're being charged with possession of that is there, and it has to be in your control. So in this case, she's driving the car. The drugs are in the car that she's driving. She's the only passenger in the car. That would satisfy that it's in her control. The issue that the state attorney or the district attorney might have in proving the case is if it's her mother's car, if it's registered to someone else, that those drugs seem to have been found in the trunk of the car. So then the question is, does she have knowledge that those drugs are in the trunk? So a lot of interesting potential problems with the case, but otherwise the police did a really good job during this entire investigation following the law to a T. The lesson to be learned is that if she did know that those were her drugs in the car, maybe next time she should think about not eating chicken wings while driving down a very busy highway or interstate system during what looked like a rush hour traffic.